Let us start with the step number 1. Understand the Bhagavad Gita philosophy by hearing from authority. Am I right? Anything you want to implement in your life, what do you do first? Do you first try to understand it, or do you just start implementing it? What is the first thing? Which comes first? Do you first understand the philosophy and then implement it, or implement it and then understand? What do you do? You first understand. That means that first of all, you should get the philosophy. Understanding reinforces implementation, and implementation reinforces your understanding. So here is a verse from Bhagavad Gita, verse number Bhagavad Gita 7.1. So the gist of this verse is Lord Sri Krishna is saying, hear from me, know from me. Yatha jnashrasi tat shrunu. Shrunu means the first line you see, now hear. Krishna is saying, now hear. That means the first step is hearing. It all starts with hearing. The problem is there are so many different kinds of interpretations of this Bhagavad Gita, and every author tries to talk about Bhagavad Gita in their own way. I mean, they try to put their philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. If we read such commentaries where the author's opinion is more important than Lord Krishna's opinion, we won't be able to gain much. So it's not possible. So the thing is, you need to get an authentic version and understand it from the bona fide spiritual disciplic succession. So that means what is a bona fide disciplic succession is like this. You can always go to a university, a board, CBSE, ICSE, Anna University, and then get a degree. Or you can go to some university which does not have any kind of recognition, which has no authority. If given these two options, which one would you choose? One or two? That's the reason why I'm stressing that Bhagavad Gita, if you have to hear from a bona fide disciplic succession. So there are bona fide disciplic successions which are mentioned in the Vedas, from which we have to hear Bhagavad Gita. Let me talk about benefits about hearing Bhagavad Gita. Hearing is more convincing than studying yourself. Simple. Let us say you open a health magazine, and in the health magazine, it is written that if you do naturopathy, you have to take a lot of mud and smear your body with the mud and sit in the sun for half an hour. If you bath, there are so many medical benefits. Let us say somebody writes that article. How many of you will take that seriously and actually go and get the mud and put it on yourself? How many of you will do that? I think nobody will do that. But if you actually go to a naturopathy center and if you hear a class from them, if they show you a practical demonstration, if you see others doing it, then you will take that step. Isn't it? Isn't that our mindset? Correct? So the point is, hearing is very important. Hearing is more convincing than self-studies. The second thing is, why should you hear Bhagavad Gita? Of course, you have to read it yourself, but more important is hearing, because to understand the deeper meaning of the verses. Let's talk about benefit number 3. To get an accurate understanding, you have to hear from a bona fide disciplic succession. Let us talk about disciplic succession. What is this disciplic succession all about? Okay, I'll tell you in simple words. If you're going to learn ABCD class, you're sitting in ABCD class in kindergarten. So the teacher teaches, there are 26 alphabet, A, B, C, D to Z. Now, if the student questions the teacher, who taught you this A to Z? What would the teacher answer? From my teacher. And that teacher has learned from whom? From his teacher. And that teacher has heard from whom? Are you able to see the chain? This is called as a disciplic succession, also called as Guru Parampara. So it is very important that we hear this explanations in a bona fide Guru Parampara to get accurate understanding. How can we choose the right authority? So the right authority, just like I said, for example, if you have to join your child to a university, you have to check from the government of India, what are the universities that are listed, right? Which universities, what boards are listed, and which of them are, bona fide. So similarly, this Guru Parampara also, they're documented in the Vedas. It is said there are 4 paramparas which are called authorized parampara. Brahma Parampara, that is coming from Lord Brahma, and Sri Sampradaya, coming from Lord Lakshmi Devi, and then we have the Kumara Sampradaya coming from the 4 Kumaras, and then the Rudra Sampradaya coming from Lord Shiva. These are the 4 Sampradayas which are actually authentically mentioned in the scriptures. So if any one of these 4 Sampradayas, if you are reading the commentary or hearing, then it is fine. That means you are getting the proper knowledge. Let's go to the step number 2. The step number 2 for practically implementing Bhagavad Gita. Lord Shri Krishna speaks about yoga systems. But then, what is the most important type of yoga that's given in Bhagavad Gita? Perform practical yoga system by chanting the names of God. So to chant the names of God is the practical yoga system for the modern society as given in the Vedas. So now why is that? Let's just try to find out. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yajnanam japa yajñosmi. Yajnanam japa yajñosmi. So Yajnanam japa yajñosmi means that he is, among all the fire sacrifices, he is the chanting of the holy names of Krishna. So chanting of the holy names of Krishna is the topmost yajna. Bhagavad Gita 8.7. You can see this. Krishna recommends to Arjuna that you should always think of me in the form of Krishna and at the same time carry out your prescribed duty. So Krishna's recommendation to Arjuna is always remember me. So always remembering Krishna, we are remembering Krishna in the form of his names. Because you know what? If I say water, 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 will it quench my thirst? If I say water, 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 I'm feeling thirsty. I don't have water. I'll say water, 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 water. Will it quench my thirst? Yes? No? No. It won't quench my thirst. But if I chant the names of God, if I say Krishna, 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 it is same as Krishna because Krishna is the absolute truth. Because Krishna is absolute platform. In the absolute platform, there is no difference between the name and the person. Krishna is the absolute truth. That means there's no difference between his name and him. So when Krishna is saying, always think about me, the most practical way to think about Krishna is to remember his names. Because when you chant the names of God, it is same as associating with God. So that's the secret that we are discussing here. Let's go to the next one. Krishna explained multiple yoga systems in Bhagavad Gita. And he said, among all the yoga systems, Bhakti Yoga is the best. Because he says that if you want to achieve liberation, Mam chayo avyabhicharena bhakti yogena sevate. That means we can attain liberation by performing Bhakti Yoga. That's the best one. And what does Bhakti Yoga mean? You know, one of the acharyas, he said Bhakti Yoga means only 2 things. Chanting the names of God and crying. That's it. Remembering God and crying. This is Bhakti Yoga. So ultimately what it means is, in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying the best of the sacrifices is chanting of holy names. And Krishna is saying the best yoga system is Bhakti Yoga. And Bhakti Yoga practically translates to chanting of the holy names of Krishna. So how many of you think that chanting is very difficult? If I give you 4 options, tell me which one will you choose? The first option is you have to go to Himalayas and you have to sit in the freezing cold and meditate there. That's option number 1. Option number 2, you have to organize a big fire sacrifice. Call, let us say, some 50 Brahmanas and bring all the material for doing fire sacrifice for 3 days and distribute food. Okay, option number 2. Option number 3, I'll say wherever you are, just sit down and chant the names of God. Which one will you pick among these 3? 1 or 2 or 3? Which one is the easiest and which one is the most practical in the modern age? What is practical? We're talking about practical steps. So here is a practical step, right? Okay. So let's go to the next benefit. I'll talk about 3 benefits of chanting the holy names of Krishna. By chanting the names of Krishna, we get the benefits of performing all religious activities given in the Vedas. You see, in the Vedas, there are many activities that are recommended. So if you say the Vedas recommend us to perform fire sacrifices. Fire sacrifice means yajna, performing elaborate fire sacrifice. Second one is giving charity. Third one is performing austerity. Austerity means, see, charity means, this is again, as per the Vedic charity, we are supposed to give lands to the spiritually advanced people, or we are supposed to give cows, lands, gold, and things like that. Austerity means there are several types of austerities recommended. For example, being in the hot sun in the summer, or bathing in cold water in winter, things like that, austerities. And then there is another thing called as vows, vratas. That's what we do, right? Different kinds of vows are there, vratas. All over the year, we have many vratas. So many vratas are there, this vrat, that vrat, Karva Chauth, this vrat, that vrat. So many vrats we all know, we are regularly doing. So now, what I'm saying, and what the Vedas are saying here is, if you combine all of this, all the sacrifices, all the charity, all the austerity, all the vows, everything which is given in the Vedas, if you want it in one capsule, okay, this is a capsule. What is the name of this capsule? This name of the capsule is Hare Krishna capsule.
Yeah, Hare Krishna chanting.
Yeah. So if you take this capsule, it is guaranteed that you'll get all of this and beyond that. So how many of you would like that? Let's go to the next one. The next point here is, if we chant the names of Krishna, we can gain positive scientific knowledge about God. How many of you would like to gain knowledge about God? How many of you want to actually know about who is God? What is he like? How does he look like? And want to see him? So by chanting of the holy names of Krishna, it is said that you can attain the positive scientific knowledge of God. So therefore, it's very important that we take up that practice. Okay, let's go to the third benefit now. We have different kinds of happiness that we get. Okay, let me just go to the screen and show you something here. So how do we enjoy happiness? Can you tell me some sources of happiness other than spiritual happiness? What are the sources of happiness? Visiting new places, being with loved ones, and playing. Okay, what else? What else? Is that all? Movies. What else?
Eating what we like.
Eating, food. Yeah, visiting places.
Okay, sorry.
What else? Friends. Okay. So now tell me, like, when we're getting the happiness by all of this, from where are we getting the happiness from? Is it coming from, it is either coming from our mind or intelligence or senses? Is it coming from our soul? Any one of these? What do you think? So none of them is actually coming from the soul platform, correct? So all of this is coming from the platform of senses, bodily platform, right? It's called bodily platform. So on the bodily platform, we are getting some kind of happiness, right? So that's what is happening. The point here is, if you chant the holy names of Krishna, the result is you can experience transcendental bliss from within, and you don't have to depend on the happiness derived from senses. So that is the benefit number 3. So you can get benefit, happiness from within. How many of you would like that? How many of you would want to get happiness from within, from your soul platform? I'll tell you one story of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Once he went to Srirangam and he saw that there was an old person. He was an old Brahmana who was trying to read Bhagavad Gita. And then when he was reading Bhagavad Gita, he was crying and he was holding the book in the opposite direction. You know, it's just like this. So for example, I'm holding this book. Okay, this is straight, right? So let's say I hold it like this, opposite direction, ulta. And he's reading like this and he's crying. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked him, why are you crying? And why are you holding it in the opposite direction? Then he said, I don't know Sanskrit. I'm illiterate. I mean, at least in Sanskrit, I'm illiterate. I don't know Sanskrit. So, but my spiritual master said that I must read Bhagavad Gita daily. Then Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked, okay, that's fine, but why are you crying? And he said, see, the thing is, when I see this Bhagavad Gita, okay, so Bhagavad Gita, so how does it look like? Yes. So he says, when I hold this book, Bhagavad Gita, I see the picture. I see in the picture, Lord Krishna is on the chariot. Okay. And Arjuna is there behind him and Krishna is riding the chariot. When I see that God has accepted to become a driver for the sake of his devotee, when I see that, I cannot control myself and I feel like crying. And you know what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said? He said, you are the perfect student for learning Bhagavad Gita because you have got the right attitude. So that is what is more important. So it is the right attitude that is important for understanding Bhagavad Gita and implementing in our life. So let's go to the next step. The third step is read books explaining the Bhagavad Gita philosophy with case studies. Let's take an example of a lawyer. Okay. If a lawyer reads the book of judgments that have been passed over the last 10 years on a specific subject, will that be powerful? Yes or no? So without actually you trying to do it, you can hear from the experiences of others and you can instantly become more knowledgeable than what you are right now. Am I right? So what if we have books which explain Bhagavad Gita philosophy with case studies? Because Bhagavad Gita is giving a principle. For example, Krishna says that whatever state of mind you leave your body, you will get that body. Okay, let's take that principle. How much can we understand from that in comparison with if I tell you a story of a great king, Bharat Maharaj, who left his kingdom, who went and who was practicing austerities, and he saw a small deer and he was attached to the deer, and at the time of death he was remembering the deer, and therefore he was born as a deer, and then he had to take another birth before he got liberated. Which one is more clear for you, the first one or the second one? The first one was the philosophy part, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna saying whatever you remember at the time of death, that body you will attain. Second one is example. It's an example, it's a story. Yes. So that's the reason why you must read these books. So these books, if you want, we have many recommendations. We have a lot of books written by the founder Acharya of ISKCON. We have so many books he has written, Bhagavad Gita as it is, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and so many other small books. If you read these books, it becomes clear. So why should you read books? Why should you gain knowledge about God? Let's see what Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna is saying in 7.18 that there are 4 types of people who approach him. Out of the 4 types of people who approach Krishna, the person who approaches him in knowledge is the best. That means when we approach Krishna, when we approach God, we should be having knowledge. If you approach with a sentimental platform, or maybe out of fear or out of desire or out of curiosity, it's not as good as approaching God with knowledge. So that is the reason why we have to read books. Now, coming to the next point, what are the 3 benefits of this now? Let's see what are the 3 benefits. So by reading these books, I'll tell you one example of one beautiful book. Perfect Questions and Perfect Answers. That's one book. Note it down if you don't have that. Science of Self-Realization. Note it down. So when you read these books, what happens is you can relate Bhagavad Gita with the contemporary world. I'll tell you one more book, Easy Journey to Other Planets. Easy Journey to Other Planets. So right now, recently we went to Chandrayaan, we went to the moon planet. If you read that Easy Journey to Other Planets, you will be able to relate our space travel with the Vedas, with Krishna consciousness. What is the connection between space travel and the Bhagavad Gita? That you can understand by reading that book. So how many of you would like to relate Bhagavad Gita with the contemporary examples? The next one is, by reading books, you get historic examples of those who have followed the principles of Bhagavad Gita. Okay? So it's like a social proof. So for example, let's say that how many of you have a role model in your life? Any great personality that you look up to? Now, you take inspiration from that role model, and whatever that person has done helps you, it defines your character. Am I right? So whenever you take an action, you think about that role model and then you act. For example, let's say that somebody's role model is Mahatma Gandhi. And when I'm going to tell a lie, then I'm going to remember Mahatma Gandhi and say, Gandhi lived by the principles of truthfulness. Therefore, I shall also live by the principle of truthfulness, even though it is difficult. If I have a historic example of somebody who has done it already, it makes me easier to do something like that. But if I don't have any historic proof at all that somebody has done this method and got this success, I will not do that. Am I right? Having historic examples is important. And we have positive examples and negative examples both in the Shastras. How you should be, how you should not be. Can you give one positive and one negative example from the Shastras, that how you should be, how you should not be? What are the positive examples, how you should be? Positive example. From the, you can take Mahabharata, you can take Ramayana, you can take all our stories. Arjuna is a positive example. Pandavas are a positive example. Vibhishana was a positive example. Hanuman was a positive example, right? Okay, now let's talk about negative examples. Can you say some negative examples? Duryodhana is a negative example. Don't be like Duryodhana. Who else? Don't be like Mantara. What else? Who else? Don't be like Ravana. Don't be like Hiranyakashipu. So positive and negative examples, historic things that will help us. Now let's go to the third benefit of reading books, reading spiritual books. You get answers to the questions that are relating to life which were never answered before. How many of you have a lot of questions related to life? I mean, there were times when you were sitting and thinking, why this happened to me? I mean, you thought like that, or you were contemplating, why is this all happening only to me? How many of you felt like that? So who is going to answer all these questions? From where will you get? Are you going to get the answers from newspapers, magazines, novels, or textbooks, or scientific papers? Why are you suffering? For example, if I ask the question, why am I suffering? Can I get the answer from any research journal? Not possible. So answers to your questions related to life, you'll get it, which were never answered before, you'll get it from these spiritual books. Okay, so this is the step number 3. Read the books explaining Bhagavad Gita philosophy with case study. Okay, let's go to the next step. Step number 4, to implement this Bhagavad Gita in practical life, is to have a balanced lifestyle for a sustained and an integrated spiritual life of learning. So what that basically means is, we cannot have a irregular lifestyle or a sinful lifestyle and expect that we will be able to implement Bhagavad Gita in our life. So there are some basic lifestyle corrections that we have to do. Why should we do that? That's explained in Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita 6.17. Bhagavad Gita 6.17, where Lord Sri Krishna is saying, he who is temperate in his habits of eating, sleeping, working, and recreation can mitigate all material pains by practicing the yoga system. So that means that we have to be regulated in our eating, sleeping, working, recreation. So we need a regulated lifestyle. We need lifestyle correction. So that is the step number 4. And what are the benefits of having a good lifestyle? So what do I mean by having a lifestyle? I'm not mentioning all of the points here, but one of the important points is to rise early in the morning. When you rise early in the morning, you stay in the mode of pure goodness. And when we rise late in the morning, and our mode of will be in different mode. That's one benefit. And you will have more time for sadhana. Whatever spiritual practice that you want to do, you'll have more time if you rise early in the morning. And if you have a sattvic lifestyle, we can avoid bad karma by avoiding habits like meat eating. If we avoid that, otherwise we will be accumulating bad karma. When we are accumulating bad karma, we will not be able to progress spiritually. So these are the benefits of having a balanced spiritual life. The benefit number 5, the step number 5. The step number 5 to implement Bhagavad Gita in our practical life is to meditate upon the form of the God by performing deity worship. See, the kind of meditation, I tell you, there are some benefits of meditating upon the God. So I'll tell you what are the benefits. Here, Lord Sri Krishna is saying, those who fix their minds on my personal form and are always engaged in worshipping me with great and transcendental faith are considered by me to be the most perfect. So the reason why we have put deity worship here is because by doing personal worship of Lord Krishna, we come to that rare group of perfect people. That's what Krishna is saying, that, these people who have great transcendental faith, who are worshipping me in my personal form, they are the best. So that's the reason why we are supposed to be doing deity worship. And what is the deity worship? Let me ask you, how many of you have Lord Krishna's picture or deity in your house? How many of you have Tulsi at home? Yes. So if you have deity at home, Tulsi at home, start worshipping the deities. You know why we should do this deity worship? There's a whole science behind it. I'll tell you why and what are the benefits of it. Okay, let's see. When you engage in this deity worship, you have to do some things, like you have to regularly buy flowers. You have to clean your puja room, that is an altar. You have to clean the aarti plates. So when you're regularly doing these activities, you become active in devotional service. Am I right? Yes or no? What do you think? Yes?
Yes, Prabhuji.
When you go in the market, you'll see the flowers in the night and you'll say, okay, I have to bring the flowers for God. And then when you come in the morning and you will clean the temple room and then you will decorate the photos. So that means you are using your hands in service of God. You see, that is the importance of deity worship. That's why deity worship, we said this is the important step. Now let's talk about the 3 benefits that you're going to get. The first benefit is that you will have a positive and a spiritual environment in your house. How many of you would like to have a positive and spiritual environment in your house? Please raise your hands. I just want to see how many of you want positive environment, spiritual environment
Positive.
in your house. Yes, thank you. So by doing this deity worship, your house will be like a very positive, vibrant place. Okay. And the second benefit is that you'll have a daily routine of Krishna consciousness at your home. That means every day, that every day morning, you have to clean your altar and you have to bring the flowers and you have to do the aarti. It's a routine. It's a part of your routine. Every day, we have the routine, right? We wake up early in the morning, we brush our teeth, we may go for jogging, running, whatever we are doing, that's our routine. So you have Krishna consciousness in your routine. So how many of you would like to have Krishna consciousness in your daily routine? The step number 5 is to meditate upon the form of God by performing deity worship. I mean, we are not meditating like the yogis. This is different kind of meditation. We do mantra meditation, that is chanting the holy names of Krishna, or we do the deity worship. When you do the deity worship, what happens is, if you are showing the agarbatti, you tell me, when I'm showing agarbatti like this, just imagine yourself, okay? There is Krishna's photo, you're showing agarbatti. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. At that time, what are you seeing? What are you seeing? Can you see anything else other than that at that time? The Vedic science says that if you meditate upon the limbs of Krishna, mode of passion and ignorance are gone. So when you are doing the deity worship, you are simply showing agarbatti 7 times around. You're forced to look at Krishna, and you cannot look at anything other than that, especially if you are performing, right? So that's why this is very important. Positive engagement for hands, eyes, ears, nose, and tongue. What is that? How do we get a positive engagement for hands, eyes, ears, nose, and tongue? Hands, you will be using it for cleaning the plate. You will use your hands for cleaning your altar, right? For setting up the flowers and for, rotating, for the bell, for ringing the bell, for showing arati. And you'll be using your eyes. You have no other choice but, and ears, you're hearing the bell sound, right? You're hearing the bell sound and you're hearing Hare Krishna chanting. And your nose, what is your nose doing? Can anybody say what is your nose doing when you're doing deity worship? How many of you like the smell of agarbatti that comes when you're worshipping Krishna? How many of you like that perfume? So our nose feels very happy, isn't it? So tongue is when you offer food to Krishna and take that remnants, that's called prasadam. Yes. Offer the food to the deity and take it, then it becomes prasadam. Your tongue becomes very happy, right? So that's how you're engaging all your senses in Krishna consciousness by deity worship. So step number 5 is perform deity worship. Worship of Radha Krishna and worship of Tulsi Maharani. You have to do that. Now let's go to the last step. Step number 6. Visit spiritually charged up places and meet like-minded people for inspiration. Now tell me, why should we do that? Why should I meet like-minded people? What happens when you meet like-minded people? When you meet like-minded people, your interest will also increase. Is that true? So for example, yeah, for example, let us say that there are let's say some supporters of an IPL match. Let's say that somebody is like supporting some team. Okay, they are like, let us say 3 friends come together and they are all supporting the same team. What will they start talking about? The energy will increase or decrease. What happens next?
Increase.
Increase, right? So because they are resonating, I mean, whatever they're saying, it's resonating. It's becoming interesting. Everybody is speaking the same thing. So your interest, your faith, your knowledge, everything is increasing. So that's the reason why you should go to spiritually charged up places and meet like-minded people for inspiration. You can go to Vrindavan Dham, you can go to Mayapur Dham, or you can visit temples, you can visit the ISKCON temple, and you will be able to find like-minded people. Let's see what Krishna has got to say about association. Bhagavad Gita 10.9. Krishna is saying that the pure devotees, their thoughts are always with me and they are always enlightening one another, conversing about. You know what this basically means? Krishna is saying the devotees are always talking about me. For example, if 2 devotees come together, they talk about Krishna. So I'll tell you one story, very interesting. It was raining very heavily one day. And there was a devotee who was living in a small hut. So another devotee, he came inside the small hut. There was no place, hardly there's any place for 2 people. Okay, it's only meant for 1. So then he came inside. And then obviously when 2 like-minded people join, I told you what topic they'll speak. They'll speak about what they like. And because they're devotees, they start talking about Krishna. And then there was a third devotee who came. It was raining. So he came inside and he said, can I come in? They said, no, there's no place, but it's okay. It doesn't matter. I will come, I'll fit in. He came. And then they all started talking about Krishna. After some time, Krishna himself came. And he came, everybody was stunned. Then he said, I have come to hear what you people are speaking about me. So this is called the power of association. Right? So when you're with like-minded people, magic happens. So it is said that even a moment of association of a pure devotee is more valuable than liberation. That is the power of association. So that's why you should take out time to visit these temples. So that is why we say, please come to the temple. Every Sunday, if possible, please come. Or at least come on the festival days. Please visit the temple. So because you will find people here. And you know what happens? I'll tell you some practical advantages. When you go to a spiritually charged up place, your bad karma gets destroyed. How many of you would like your bad karma to be destroyed? The second point is, like I said, we can associate with the like-minded spiritual people. So you can have friends. You must make friends. It's not you come to the temple, it's not enough. You should come to the temple, you should have friends of your same age group or somebody of the same demographic. You must have friends. That will help you. Okay, then you should take their number, you should talk to them. Okay, so then third advantage is, we have an opportunity to serve advanced devotees who are making rapid progress in Krishna consciousness. That is, how do you advance in any field? If you have to become, let us say, a better doctor, So what is the first advice that you give for a young doctor who has just passed out? What is the first thing that is supposed to do? Is it like just go and practice? What is the first thing that he has to do? So work under a doctor, right? Apprenticeship. Right? That is like you're working under some senior people and you're trying to help them out, and then you are getting benefited. And then you skyrocket. So many people, they owe their success to their mentors. So it's all about mentoring and mentorship and serving the superiors. So the third reason why you want to come to the temple is you will meet advanced devotees and it will help you rapid progress. These were the 6 steps.